up guys, how you doing today? It's Single Roleplay once again, and today I want to present you my second Abyss build, which is the pure Blade VORTEX Inquisitor build with the Light Poacher. And when I initially had the sketch for the build, I didn't really expect it to be that powerful. I had I saw some good numbers, but I really didn't catch the Blade VORTEX and the time of its glory. Blade VORTEX now is not really like a very popular skill in general. No one really plays it, no one really gives a shit. People think that AoE was nerfed, the damage is not there, and it's all a bunch of crap. So I wanted to prove it wrong basically, and also revisit the Blade VORTEX shit in general, and just want to see how strong it is now. Well, to my surprise, the build turned out exceptionally strong and much stronger than I thought. I cleared everything. I cleared the corrupted guardians, I cleared elders like it doesn't exist. I cleared Shaper even, and I'm fucking Shaper, virgin here, because I haven't really killed Shaper before this league, so it was my first Shaper kill. I initially wanted to kill Shaper with this build because I wanted to prove everyone kind of wrong that Blade VORTEX can still be pretty damn viable. So the idea behind the build was to push Blade VORTEX and Inquisitor to the maximum potential. Another thing that I wanted to really see and try to finish the build and is the whole Fizz to elemental conversion that is going on in the Abyss League. Now, a lot of people obviously were over obsessed with the Ethereal Knives Nova build, and it's very popular. Aziz did really great build and it became really popular, but I wanted to go a different route and try to fit Blade VORTEX and the Inquisitor setup, because I didn't really enjoy Ethereal Knives Nova, and I've seen that the damage on single target on Ethereal Knives was complete shit. I didn't really enjoy that. I didn't really swap weapons and do something like this. So the idea behind the whole build was to use Blade VORTEX as the boss killer with the Light Poacher as AoE clear. That was the build idea, guys. And also another idea was to fully utilize the physical to elemental conversion and to make the build just pure elemental, to be able to sustain physical reflect at the same time. The build works really well and have over 2 million to 3 million damage depending on the gear you have. 2 million damage is extremely cheap gear under an Exile, and around 3 million damage at 94 we shall level up is about 20-30 Exiles price. They're nothing crazy here at all, no items that you need to hunt for weeks. You can just go and buy everything if you have the currency for it. Here I'll show you the park, just to show you how the fastest clear speed, and that's about it, guys. Let's go to the pros and the cons of the build. For the pros of the build, I would say that the damage is quite high and the clear speed is pretty ridiculous. I was pretty impressed at the damage of the build and how fast it can clear all content. Even my projected sketches of the build were not so impressive as the actual build that I have experienced through the while playing the actual build. It surpassed my expectations. The bosses that melt in a second or 2 seconds. Some most bosses, I killed Minotaur on very early on Tabula, and he died in 10 seconds. I pretty much face tank him. All other bosses don't even exist. They'll die in under a second. The map clear speed is pretty silly. Again, Light Poacher fills in the spot pretty impressively and fits perfectly for the build, and we are yet to see what will happen with the Light Poacher in the future. Will it be nerfed greatly, or will it be able to sustain its damage, to sustain its effectiveness just as it is now? We will see, but Light Poacher is amazing for AoE, that's why it's there in the build. So basically the pros are very high damage and very high clear speed. For the cons of the build, I would say that like it's not really for everyone, because you have to spin up blades to do damage, and it's attached to the spell echo gem there to spin up really fast. I also help myself sometimes with clarity or Vaal clarity if I want to really go YOLO and spin up insanely fast and keep up stacks and bosses and shit. So it's not really like it's you can press one button and clear a whole map. It's not that build. You have to spin up, watch your blade VORTEX stacks to do maximize your damage. So it can be pretty annoying for some people, but for me, I don't really have problem. I even kind of enjoy this interesting kind of gameplay, I guess. So this is like the only con that I ever think about it, guys. And another con that you might potentially face up is you can't really do heavy damage mods like extra 105 damage, because the bosses can actually hit you through the life pool. It can be a bit annoying, but it's not that crazy. Just don't do a lot of ripping maps like crit and extra damage, because it's a pretty melee build in general. You are pretty close, and blade VORTEX do damage in a pretty close area around, so it's pretty close, and the heavy hitters might just hit you through your life pool, and you will eventually kind of die a bit. So it can be a bit annoying, especially if you have low life and don't invest heavily in your life and resist. So it can be a bit annoying at first, but in the end, like I said, I had no problems when I really stacked all that HP and resist, and the damage is ridiculous. So let's take a look at path of building, guys. I will show you how you should progress as you level up through the game. So we'll starting as a Templar here, right? So let's take elemental damage. They'll get spell damage here. Then we're basically transitioning into Fat Life nodes here, which is Devotion. Try to get Elementalist. You can also get Light of Divinity if you wish, but Amplify is prioritized. So then try to get the quick recovery, it basically gives us a very low life region. Then transition here and try to get the Potential Will as fast as possible, because it increases skill effect duration, and skill effect duration is mandatory to keep our blade VORTEX up for more time, so that the blades will stay longer. So this will be your first top priority to get here. At around X10, well, you will be near maps. Try to get all the Fat Life Wheel here. After that, and in start of mapping process, try to basically to spec more into crit, get Annihilation, and get more area damage here on the blast radius, get Fat Life on the Krill preparation. You might not take more jewels up to now, doesn't really matter. Just try to get more flat crit on the tree. Try to get Throat Seeker. As soon as you will get around 70 to 80, you will be able to get the Fat Life here with the Written Blood, and spec into full crit with Doomcast here. Afterwards, we get Cold-Hearted Calculation, more crit. This is with the last crit that will take on the tree, Assassination. Then get the Fat Life with the Blood Siphon here, and basically everything else is already the history, just life here. And this will be around like level 90, 85 to 90 will be getting here. And at around level 85 to 90, it's mostly just jewels, guys. For the Ascendancy, we're taking the Inquisitor Ascendancy for one good reason, because critical strikes ignore enemy monster elemental resistance. That is pretty damn OP for now. I'm not sure what will happen with the Inquisitor with the 3.2. We are still waiting for the Ascendancy update, so no one knows for now. But I really hope that it won't be nerfed to the ground, because it's not really that overpowered, to be honest. But the first one you should take is Righteous Providence, then Inevitable Judgment, then Instruments of Virtue, and then the last Uber Lag will be the Augury of Penitence. That's about it, guys. As for the jewels and overall the skill damage priorities on your skills and on your gear and all your jewels, the best priority is basically the Global Crit Multiplier. Then we have Global Crit Multiplier for spells, And then we have the physical damage to spells, the additive physical damage to spell. These are the best. And then goes basically everything else, like spell damage, then goes all kind of elemental additive damage, like the lightning, cold, fire damage, whatever you want. Also, it goes additive damage while dual wielding, because we will be dual wielding, so a very good gem will be like fist damage to spells, global crit, life, and some kind of physical damage to dual wielding. This was the absolute best. As for the abyssal jewels, it was also a very neat options to get global fist damage, because I know global physical damage buffs everything, both the melee damage and the spell damage, and Blade Warriors is a spell. That's why increased global physical damage also buff the spell physical damage as well. This is a very neat jewel that I use. It has fist damage, dex as well, which is mandatory for our Blade Warriors, global crit multi, and 7 life here as well. That's about it, guys. I hope you understand how to level up here. For the skills I will explain later on, but you can see some stats over here. We have 2 million damage at 20 blades, at 10 it's about a million. Overall, on the most bosses you will be around 10 blades spinning, but when the boss will spawn the ads, you will spin up faster because you will get your onslaught on kill, and that's about it. For the gear, I will just show you in the actual game, but you can watch here as well. The gear is very cheap here on my power building. This was like, I can remember, I think it was given me by my to me by my guild member. This is about 2 exiles. I think it's under 2 exiles even. It's very cheap. This was 40 chaos, nothing crazy. Light poacher with the blade works enchant is very cheap. This jewel is inserted into the light poacher. It adds fist to damage to spells as well as life and phasing. Now for the chest, is quite a few interest options. First of all, the best and cheapest option would be Carcass Jack. Carcass Jack has life, resist, increased area of effect will give us +1 radius to our blade works, as well as up to 50 increased area damage. It's basically like a conk effect and increased area of effect in one chest, and also it has life and resist. This is a very strong chest for the blade works, guys, as strongly recommended as a cheap chest for blade works. Another good option is the new Impulse's Broken Heart. This is pretty ridiculous chest for the clear speed. This shocking explosions, happens all the time. Basically pops shit in and out. Chain explodes. It gives a ridiculous amount of clear speed, and it actually can boost your clear speed even with very low effort. Like if you don't really have a lot of damage early in the game, it can really help. And if you press the shocked here, you can see the damage basically rises up like insane. This will not work against most bosses, but it doesn't really matter. Across the map, it gives ridiculous amount of clear speed. So Impulsus is like the second best option and the first best option for clearing everything out. Now another cheap option is something like this, which is the crit spell chest. It's a shaped chest introducing the Abyss League. This chest can be bought very cheap at this one is like 10 chaos right now on PoE trade, and his life and some fire resist as well. This is a very good chest, and I have bought one just in case I will potentially need it for some other builds and characters. And the absolute GG chest will be like this, which is +1 to target active skill gems, and also a very high crit strike chance for the spells. But unfortunately, this kind of chests have extra orbital prices. They are like 30 to 40 to 50 exiles. They're extremely expensive. So your best bet will still be to rely on the Carcass Jack crit chest or Impulse's Broken Heart. For the rest is mostly this. The boot enchant is 0.6 damage life, leech as life and money if you've killed recently. This is our source of leech. The ring is Warlord's Mark. I will explain it later in the build. This is basically dex and global crit multiply essence ring here. The belt is classic free res Abyss Stygian Vice with a lot of life, and the jewel gives me onslaught as well. You can see So I don't need Onslaught Flask on me, that's why I have Onslaught on my jewel. The rest is mostly just Flask, I'll explain them later on. The jewels, like I said, are global crit, life, crit strike if you've killed recently, global fist damage to spell, as well as added damage of all kind of elemental added damage to spells. Another thing that I forgot to mention in my video is the ridiculous unique Elder Watcher's Eye that drops exclusively from Elder, and it has quite a bit of different variations, but we need this one, and I will show you what it does. We need the Watcher's Eye, which gives us crit strike chance while affected by hatred, and this is the base crit chance, which just adds to the base crit, and as you can see, it gives ridiculous amount of firepower, like around 10% of damage, which is a lot in this game. So this Watcher's Eye is very, very impressive DPS wise, but unfortunately there is one slight problem because it's very expensive. The price on this starts for around 20 exiles. That's why I didn't really want to include it in the video, because I don't have it and I don't really plan to buy it. But for me, the min-maxing and for the absolute best DPS, you might potentially invest into buying this one, because it also gives life, mana, energy shield, and on the secondary you can actually try to get like chance to dodge attacks while affected by grace or something for clarity as well, because we'll be using clarity and grace most of the time, so this will be very useful, and for damage this is quite OP. So let's talk about early game, guys. For early game, I personally use Axioms per pattern because it's a scepter and it actually adds quite a bit of damage to spells. And don't forget that Blade Vortex is actually a spell, it's not an attack. So everything that adds to attacks is absolutely worthless to it. So we need something that adds to spells, and I'm a really big fan, like I said, of Axioms per pattern. It's that like cheap item that can boost your crit tremendously, and a dual wielding tool is you will start critting very early on, and they are very, very helpful. For the early boots, I use Storm Chargers because Fist to Lightning gem is not really very affordable early on. You can't even get it early on. So Storm Chargers at the same time requires level 23, and it converts 30% of physical damage to lightning damage and further boosts it through the elemental difference shit of the Inquisitor. That's why Storm Chargers are extremely useful for damage very early into the game. Another thing is a no-brainer, Tabula Rasa, and I totally recommend to save a bit and buy yourself a +1 Tabula Rasa, because it basically gives a tremendous bit of overpower, again most content in the game very early on when you don't really need life and just farming maps and shit. I farmed the whole game with Tabula Rasa before I managed to 6-link my first chest. So this is exceptionally useful, and I killed Minotaur on this Tabula Rasa exactly. As for the skill gems, you can actually start farming at the level 12 with Blade Vortex. This is when you get Blade Vortex. It's very early gem. That's why you can basically just start fucking spinning very early on. Just try, put Blade Vortex, get additive damage like added Lightning Cold, get Hatred very early on, get Herald of Ice if you wish, and start spinning and start destroying shit. That's about it, guys. Another item that can be really helpful is Doriani's Catalyst Wall Scepter. It greatly increases elemental damage and greatly increases global crit strike chance and the elemental. It has attack speed, it has cast speed. This is overall a very solid choice. The only problem is it requires level 75, and probably by level 75 you'll already get some nice like 2 fist to LA scepters, maces, or a very nice dagger with 2 fist LA. But Dorian's Catalyst still stays an extremely cheap and very affordable option. Another very cheap item, which is like one fusing of a coast, is Crimsoros, and this is actually extremely powerful item which converts 50% of physical damage to cold damage, which is further increased by the Inquisitor. This is the single most like important item in the build, I would say, because it's basically save us 50% from physical reflect. That's about it, guys. Now let's talk about the end game gear and skills, guys. So these are the skills that I use. I will show them the links really quick. On the 6th link we have Blade Vortex, which should be level 21 of course. Then we have Fist to Lightning support, Spell Echo for spinning up faster, and Control Destruction, Elemental Focus, and Concentrated Effect. Now on the free link here we have Faster Attacks, Whirling Blades, and Fortify support. On the last free link we have Shock Nova, Phase Run, and Cast Run damage taken. This is my little trick to shock enemies more often and get the phasing buff here as well. Here we have Light Poacher with another free link which buffs the Spirit Burst, a skill which is inserted in the Light Poacher Great Crown. So every gem you insert inside your Light Poacher will affect the Spirit Burst skill inside the Light Poacher. So we have Fist to Lightning, which is absolutely just converts the last 50 physical percent of physical damage on the Light Poacher to lightning, and another 50% of physical is being converted here to the cold damage on Rimsorrow. So we fully convert all our physical damage to elemental on the Light Poacher again. That's why we do not fear physical reflect at all. So here we go. Fist to Lightning support, GMP, and Volley. This basically gives us more projectiles. We don't know what will happen with the Light Poacher in the future, but for now this setup really works. As for the Abyssal Jewel, I have fist damage to spells here with life and phasing here. Phasing buff gives me like I can move unhindered through the enemies, and this helps you not stuck inside the enemies and die there when they surround you like and can potentially hit you really hard. I really like the phasing buff, guys. I really like it. Here we have Rimsorrows, which converts 50% of physical damage to cold. Here we have Mortal Call, Cast Wound damage taken, increased duration, and Val Grace. On the bots we have this is important enchant here. 0.6 of damage leached as life and mana. If you have killed recently across the map, that will save us a lot. The leech to life and mana is very important because we reserve quite a bit of it here. Here I have Vault Clarity, which is very useful across mapping. Basically, you don't need to worry about mana at all. Hatred, Arctic Armor is for additional physical damage reduction. Hatred is mandatory. Lightning Golem is for the cast and attack speed, also extremely good for the Whirling Blades, as well as the cast speed for Blade Vortex here as well. As the belt is a classic free res belt with the I also have the Onslaught Jewel here, which gives me the chance to gain Onslaught on kill. I don't have the Onslaught Flask, I don't really need it. Well, that's about it. Just life, strength, dex, and Onslaught here as well. Another thing that I want to mention about the Light Poacher is try to get as much chance to get a Spirit Charge on kill as possible, like 15 to 19 and 20 chance is a pretty huge difference. Also try to get the one with recover 5 life when Spirit Charge expired is consumed, not to 4, because 5 and 4 life is also very huge difference. And of course, important is increased Blade Vortex spell damage here as well. For the rings, this is one of the first thing you will ever buy when you start playing, if possible. This will boost your toughness tremendously, this will boost your recovery tremendously, and this is the Elder Ring, which has Warlord's Mark on hit, guys. When you hit the enemies, you curse him with the Warlord's Mark will basically give us life and mana as well, as far as I can remember, right? Yeah, at least life, okay. So this is pretty G ring that I have here. It gives me strength, mana, all-res, and life. Another ring is the Essence Crafted ring. It's basically just for dips at global crit multiply, the rest is not that important. This ring precisely saves me towards 159 dex as well, so it gives me 45 dex, so I really don't have problem with dexterity here on me as well. And the end game amulet that you will potentially need is this. I am gaining charges for this amulet, and I bought it relatively cheap. It's not that crazy. I think it was like 1 Exalt actually. It's nothing crazy. There are plenty of this. This basically is the global crit gain Fizz as something extra damage, and as high chance to gain power frames in any charge and kill as possible. Unfortunately, this one is pretty low. You try to aim for around 10%. Will be really good. Now, if you feel like you're lacking crit chance, just drop Control Destruction for increased critical strike, guys. It will be like the best champ to drop. Just drop drop this for increased critical strikes. If you feel like your AoE is shit, then drop Conk Effect. No, we don't have Conk Effect. Yeah, we have Conk Effect. Drop Conk Effect to increase their effect. It will be pretty much the same. But once again, I said that even with this, like the area is not really a problem at all. I don't have problem with this, especially with the Lightning Golem. With 12 blades, you are pretty much melting everything. This is one Conk Effect, so that's why I don't need increased area of effect at all. For the potential super endgame items, I will show you what exactly you will need. There is a potential to boost your damage even further, because mine dagger is really like shit. This scepter is also like entirely shit. It is possible to buy really powerful daggers for about 10 exiles. Look at my damage here, and this is what happened with our plug, a really good dagger here. And if I dual wield this dagger, I'll be like almost 30% more damage with this. So there is potential to gain more damage out of these guys if you manage to get this high feeds to LM daggers, or like free mod feeds to LA scepters, for example. Then your damage can reach really high, insane amounts. Now let's talk about Flasks, guys. And the first and the cheapest and the most important flask that you will potentially need for the build is that Serious Promise, because it gives you 35% basically extra damage as chaos damage, which is very good and very cheap as well. You can buy it like for 1 chaos or 1 alchemy. This is very good. Another flask which is personally used as the Basalt Flask for an extra fizz damage reduction, because we're actually jumping into shit, and especially against bosses this is very good. I also have extra resist on this flask as well. The third flask is a Sulfur. This is better than the Overflowing Chalice because we can roll some, an extra on this, and I have my Freeze and Chill immunity on this flask. This is basically better than Overflowing Chalice. The fourth is the Diamond Flask of Warding, which is remove causes and increases my critical strike chance. This is mandatory. And basically the fifth is the normal anti-bleed life flask, which is always should be there, guys. For Shaper, I actually used the Cold Flask, and for the Guardians, you should be using something like for Phoenix, Fire Flask, for the Hydra, the Cold Flask, everything like this. For Shaper, you need Cold Flask, and also get Purity of Ice or Purity of Venomous for this. This is pretty good. There are two more flasks that can be very useful for the build, guys, and these two are Sincere Breath, because you gain Unholy Might during Flask effect, can potentially boost your damage even high if you go like complete YOLO, and you can drop Basalt for this and run with Sincere Breath. Another option is to use Taste of Hate, which will boost you even further, because you can get 20% of Fizz as extra cold damage. So this is very good. You will get also boost your Fizz damage reduction as well. So I personally didn't use this because I didn't feel like they are very necessary. Like my damage is pretty good without them. They're not like life-changing or anything. Just the normal, sulfur I think is pretty much enough. So save your money and buy something else, or if you want, go YOLO and buy Sincere Breath and Taste of Hate. That's about it. Now let's talk about Pantheon powers really quick, guys. For the Pantheon powers, I strongly recommend you to use the Soul of Solaris as the major god, because it gives you 6% additional Fizz damage reduction if there is only one nearby enemy, and this is very important because literally the only thing that can kill us and kick really hard for the life pool bosses, and this is major, most likely is our single enemy, and this really helps to survive an extra bit along with the basalt flags that we have here. For YOLO speed farming, you can switch to Soul of Lunaris and get physical damage reduction for each nearby enemy and get a little more move speed. And for the Minor God, I strongly recommend to use Soul of Ruslava, especially for the lab farmers and basically for any boss encounters out there. This is pretty mandatory. I would not even like recommend anything else. Now guys, let's talk about if this build is hardcore viable or not. Fortunately, it is hardcore viable because, you know, you can actually play with the Belly of the Beast and get about 6,000 to 7,000 life with this. 7,000 is very realistic. I can show you this, and I can show you how we can do this. So basically, we just drop Control Destruction and use Added Fire instead. This way we can have one green and one red. Unfortunately, this still leaves you with 4 green sockets on your like life chest, but this is pretty realistic, and if you really want to dedicate yourself and really want to try sink some chromes into this chest and get the 4 blue sockets on the belly, then potentially you can get to almost 7,000 life and even more if you get like better gems with more life on this. It's very easy, so you can play this on a hardcore, but you should be very cautious, especially on the maps with extra damage mods. Absolutely do not play extra damage mods like extra added fire, extra lightning, whatever. No crit mods at all, no reflect, of course. Even you can play physical reflect, but no, absolutely no elemental reflect. Also, some bosses you need to know what bosses you are fighting. Also, at the same time, the spec with the Belly of the Beast will drop your damage a bit, because you will be dropping Conk effect, and then that fire is not as crazy as not Conk effect but Control Destruction, and added fire is a bit weaker than Control Destruction. You can see the damage differences here. Let me check this. So yeah, this is about the difference, around 20 to 25% of damage difference, but still it will give you around like 500 more life, 500 to 1,000 more life, which is pretty good. So it is hardcore viable if you really wish to dedicate yourself and get a 4 blue socket Belly of the Beast. Now let's talk about the overall effectiveness of the build and what I think about the AoE or monster damage or power whatsoever. So the clear speed is easily 5 out of 5 because the light poacher procs are massive, and whatever light poacher doesn't finish, the fluid works finishes. The AoE is enough to clear anything very fast, and assuming we have whirling blades on the very fast attack speed here, mobility is not a problem at all. You can basically zoom through the map and kill everything exceptionally fast, guys. It's not a problem at all. For the boss power, it's, I would say, 4 out of 5. The only reason why it's not 5 is because it's pretty, you know, not so easy to spin up the full firepower, the 20 blades for the blade works. It takes time, and if the boss has no ads where you can't really refill your mana with the curses and shit, it means you can't really spin up and reach this 20 blades. It's not that easy. That's why there is like the potential of the blade works is still far from 100%, I would say. But it's still very powerful. It melts bosses in a couple of seconds. I killed Shaper and Guardians and everything else. It's no big deal. It's very powerful. Almost 3 million per second damage on the powder building with the not so crazy gear, I would say. So the potential is there. The AoE is, I would say, 4 out of 5, and the only reason why it's not once again a 5, it's because there's a light poacher, which we mostly rely on when it comes to clearing AoE. The Blade Works AoE is pretty damn not so crazy, it's not so insane, it's not, you know, the bow build which clears everything in one click, it's not Reeve, not, Frost Blades or whatever. Though the AoE can be potentially better with some increased area of effect on the bleed vortex itself, and we still don't know what will happen with the light poacher, so I'm kind of don't want to give it an overpowered 4 out of 5 for now. Now, for the overall toughness of the build, I would say it's around 3 to 4 out of 5. 3 because, you know, at early leveling I had a little problem surviving, especially when my HP pool was not very high. Some bosses really one-shotted me and they hit really hard. That's why I had a bit more problems surviving, especially in the early game. In the end game, it was not a problem at all, but in the early game, I suffered a bit more because it's a melee build after all. You have to be pretty close to the enemies, and when you actually go to all these bosses, they can really wreck you very hard. That's why it's not entirely super tough. Also, there is no Val pack here because we rely mostly on leech on the curse and the boots enchant. That's why there's no instant leech. It's still pretty bad for recovery, flask and all that shit, so it's not instant, it's not that easy. So 3 out of 5 for toughness, but it's still very good. Like I said, I killed all the guardians, all the map bosses, and the elders and the shaper as well. So let's take a look at this kill, guys. Here we go. Up! Almost got me, right? No. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next vid.